Welcome to Aiken Business Matters. Today we have with us William Molnar. He's the the executive director, and he does education too. Executive director for the Lower Savannah Council of Government, and with him is Andrew Anderson. He is the Workforce Development Administrator for Lower Savannah Council of Government. And Andre, we appreciate you being here today, and Bill, we're glad to have you here with us too. Thank you guys for coming here with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Oh man, I tell you this. When I did the research for this, I was very impressed. Of course, I have met both of you, and we've spent some time together. Bill, you and I have spent a fair amount of time together outside of the
absolutely
and other organizations around the community. But I'd like for our listeners to hear a little bit about your background. Bill, we'll start with you if we could.
Absolutely. I came to actually the South as a Georgia Tech student. Went to graduate school there.
There by the tie, then, I guess.
Absolutely. I had to wear this tie today just
it.
for that, absolutely. Where I got a master's degree in city planning. A couple of years later, I was up in Washington, D.C. with USDA Rural Development. I had an opportunity to come here to South Carolina back in '97 and worked as the Rural Development Coordinator for the entire state of South Carolina. Had a nice staff and enjoyed that greatly. From there, I was at Clemson University, where I had the opportunity to work with the Institute for Economic and Community Development over in Columbia. Did that for a number of years, and I've been here with the Lower Savannah Council of Government for the last year and 3 or 4 months now.
Yeah. With the rivalry between Clemson and Georgia Tech, that must have been an interesting place for you to be for a while.
Absolutely. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And my favorite is college basketball, so I try to go to as many games as I possibly can in both locations for Clemson and Georgia Tech.
Good deal. Yeah. Good deal. Andre, how about you?
I'm originally from South Florida. I made my way north. A friend invited me to a South Carolina State homecoming football game. I basically came to South Carolina via that way. I met my wife at one of those games and married her, and then moved here eventually. I'm a graduate of Florida Atlantic University down in Boca Raton, Florida. Go Owls. I'm also a graduate of Strayer. I have a master's in public administration. I've been in workforce for about 7 years now. I started my actual professional career started in public health, and then when I went back and got my master's, it turned into employment primarily. And I've never looked back. I think this is where I was always meant to be.
What do you find exciting about this field?
Well, I often tell people that the best gift I ever got from my mother was a strong work ethic, and I think that I try to pass that on in the work that we do in trying to help other individuals find employment. I come from a family of small business owners, so that's another thing that's kind of I'm passionate about. I want to make sure that businesses are supported and supported from a financial standpoint, but certainly from a mental standpoint, from an emotional standpoint in the community. Without business, there's not much else that you have. You have to actually have strong business and growth to kind of have industries and have places for individuals to go once they actually get credentialed or trained up in whatever they choose to be trained up in. So I always try to make sure that business is at the forefront of my thinking.
Good. Well, I appreciate that too, because I know in some of the conversations we've had, you certainly made that very apparent. And we like to have people on that are passionate about what they're doing, and I think I can certainly say both of you are very passionate about the operations that y'all are involved with.
Absolutely.
Bill, tell us a little bit about what the Council of Governments is all about.
Absolutely,
That's
John.
You got so many different dimensions and so many tentacles out there in so many different areas. I don't know if we can do it all justice today, but let's give it a try.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do is give you a quick overview.
Okay.
Councils of Governments or regional planning organizations were started 50 years ago. Okay, so we right now are celebrating our 50th anniversary. We're on the cusp of that. It was started with EDA, which is Economic Development Administration, looking at how to help rural areas. We realized that you just can't help them individually, but the idea was how to go and look at a region and assist a region in developing with economic development. And so that's where our roots are. But at this let me just say, there are COGs, Councils of Governments, or regional planning organizations across the nation. In this state, there are 10 of them spread across the state in different regions from down in Beaufort all the way up to Greenville. What we do is we have 3 major programs, most of us. The first one is Human Services. The second is our, going back to our roots, our planning and economic development area. And the third one is the one that Andre is involved with exclusively, but does go over to some other areas, which is our workforce development. So we're really have a 3-legged stool, and that's where our primary projects are. So let me go through really quick, okay? To let you know, in the human services area, what we are is the regional coordinator for seniors, the service of meals. We also do assessments, and that is going out there to see the individuals, elderly folks, go into their homes, see them at senior centers, and find out what are the services that they actually need. Do they need transportation? Do they need meals? Do they need help with different things? And then be able to get them that help specifically to go into their homes or however they need it. So we work with the Lieutenant Governor's Office on Aging exclusively and often. We also have the Ombudsman program, which is an advocate for seniors in nursing homes. We do that. We have the Family Caregivers program, which assists, so say that you're looking after your mother or your grandmother, and you need some time off. What we are able to do is help to fund somebody to come into your home, look after your relative for a couple of days so that you can attend a conference, take a little time off, whatever it is. We help with that.
That's you know what, you just touched on the 3 items right there that are fast growing in the need.
The medical,
I mean, as our population gets older, you know, all of us face having elderly parents that are not able to take care of themselves anymore. So we become the parents, and so those are valuable. And one thing that I was on a recent seminar, and they touched on those areas, but the one thing that they really touched on was that the caregiver, there's such a high degree of burnout in the caregiver area. They don't have that time off to take care of themselves, and they let themselves go.
Yep.
So if they don't watch it, then they become unable to take care of their parents. So that's huge. I applaud you for that.
It really is. It's a fantastic program that really helps those caregivers to have a little bit of time off.
Right.
It's a very strenuous job to be able to do that. One of the ones that I want to mention to you, John, is here in Aiken County and the city of Aiken. That is our Medicine Assistance Program. And what this program was started back in, I believe it was 2004, by the Daughters of Charity, and we work with a grant from the United Way that helps fund this program. And so we have a couple of folks who are volunteers or coordinators in our office, and they work with the big pharmacy companies to help people who fall in that gap. Okay, they don't have insurance, they're not at that Medicaid or Medicare age retirement yet, and so they can't get the medicine that they need. And since 2004, which is 12 years, that organization within our office has helped Aiken County and Aiken City residents with $8.5 million worth of drugs.
Wow.
So that's extremely important, and that goes right back to the community here in Aiken.
So they deal directly with the Pfizers and the
They
Johnsons
absolutely
and all these different
Yep.
corporations that do that. And there have been some unfavorable publicity recently about some things that some of the drug companies were doing and how they had escalated prices up 400% and so on and so forth. I think that was dealing with the EpiPens and things like
Sure
that.
was.
So
Yep.
just having somebody that is taking the lead like that is a tremendous. And how much money did you say that was again?
$8.5 million in 12 years.
Wow.
We have saved and helped citizens of this county and this city in obtaining the medication that they need in order to survive. Big program.
Well, we're talking about something that goes right to the heart of things. That's somebody's health and well-being. I mean, that's you can't put a price tag on it. And having somebody that is an intermediary for them, an ombudsman, is a tremendous thing. So that's That's a wonderful thing. I did not know that, and I'm sure many of our listeners didn't know
Didn't
that.
know that as well. So that's one of the services that we offer out of our offices. And if anybody is interested in help and is in that situation, please call us.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to help them with
And
that.
we'll have your information on our line so that people can copy it down.
Great.
And we'll make sure that they have that.
We have a couple of other programs. As you know, John, we do a multitude of different programs in different areas. One of the things that people may not know is that we administer the Best Friend Express, which is a transportation system here in Aiken County. We also have a call center that works with getting elderly and handicapped people to medical appointments, to jobs in some areas, and does a number of things for the community. And so, say somebody needs dialysis and they don't have a ride to go back and forth, we are the administrators of that program and work with the individuals, getting them on every other day to dialysis or wherever they need to be. So that with the Best Friend Express, we realized that that program that we took it over, once again, I think it was 2004, 2005. And it's been a long time since the routes have been looked at and how we go about that process. So at this present time, we are doing a transportation study with a company out of Tampa, Florida called Tyndale Oliver that will start in January. We're very excited about this program. We'll be working to help and find out where individuals need to go and when. To social services, to jobs. We've got two wonderful campuses. We've got USC Aiken and Aiken Tech here, and how to make sure that those students get from home to campus for those students who don't have a car or other ways of getting around. So that's another program that we run. And then going back to our roots, and that is the planning and community and economic development. One of the programs that we have that the City of Aiken has just joined in on is our home program, which helps individuals who meet certain poverty criteria to update their home with new flooring, new roofing, things that are safety concerns. That we help individuals with their home. They have to own their home. There's a number of restrictions on there, but to help them to update their home so that it's livable.
How do you do that? How does that, if I have a problem like that, would I come to you folks and tell you that I have this need for a roof?
You sure would. You sure would. So we have a committee that works with that. You would fill out, and first of all, you have to meet the criteria.
Certainly.
You would put out an application, and that the committee would go through that. And I believe the amount is up to $40,000 or $45,000 that they can help an individual homeowner who meets the requirements to get that help to make their house safe, so that they can, if they're handicapped, that they can move around their house easier, and to do that kind of stuff, so that they are able to live in their own house and not have to worry about issues of the condition of that house.
Going back to the elderly again, it sounds like that's kind of ties in back with that again. If you have an elderly parent who is, let's say, handicapped for some reason because of age, they're not able to get around there in a wheelchair, would they be able to apply for funds to help make their house handicap accessible?
Yes, they would, John.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's one of the programs that we like very much. Unfortunately, like a number of different programs coming through the federal government, over the years that money has dwindled. However, we apply that program throughout the 6-county region and are extremely excited that we have that to give to the citizens now of the City of Aiken.
Wow.
Very happy with that. Just a couple of other things, John, real quick. We also work with EDA funds and community development block funds, so that the new building at Aiken Tech came from EDA funds that were run through our office. That was over $2 million that went to the new building. Was it the Nuclear
Nuclear and Industrial Training Center. Yeah.
So we helped with that as well, and $2 million of the funding came through our office from EDA.
I had a tour of that several months ago when it opened, and that's a
incredible
very impressive.
facility.
It was very impressive,
Really
and it
is.
certainly goes to a lot of the things that Andre's involved with.
It really does. It connects very well.
Yeah.
And as we talk about that and move into that next segment, I wanted to let you know we also do community development block grant funding. And so we work with the state in order to get that money out for the big projects, for sewer, water, and some other things. So this year on the docket, we have 2 programs that are coming up. One of those, we just finished off a major project with the city of Denmark. They have an intersection there that was quite dangerous. And so when trucks were coming through, there were accidents there, and they actually knocked off part of Jim Harrison's building, if you know downtown Denmark. So we just received a NATO award for that project, making sure that that intersection is safe. And we were just funded this year, we found out yesterday, that we've got community development block grant funding of $500,000 to do the streetscape for the next block of downtown Denmark.
Wow.
In addition to that, we've got almost $250,000 going into Branchville for the wastewater project there. And so we are continually helping local governments, counties and cities, to find the funding for those major projects that infrastructure is needed in order for businesses to come and for jobs to happen. And so those are the big things that we have going on there. We are also, as I mentioned before, part of the MPO in the arts that works with the city of Aiken and the county of Aiken to make sure that not just the transit program, but transportation happens here. So that money coming in to the region is looked at, especially in the rural side, by the COG. And so we work with a technical advisory committee, which helps to say where the most priority is for that funding to go.
Well, I tell you, it sounds like you have a staff of about 1,000 people there administering all that, but I know that's not true. 42.
42, John. Yeah, so we're extremely busy. We've got a great staff, and we've got a great commission. We've got 39 commissioners on our board who actually are the heart and soul of what goes on. They set policy, and they're the ones who look after and make sure that we're doing what we need to do.
And I know they're very involved and very engaged.
They sure are. Leslie Price is on our board, which we greatly appreciate, as well as a number of other folks like Willer Hightower and Ronnie Young. Great folks.
People that have a real investment for their whole lives in this community and the county.
They sure do. Great folks.
And great folks that really are, you know, we can say that as much as we want to, but the truth of the matter is that they really care.
Their passion for the community and what goes on and how we interact with them is A+. I cannot say enough good things about the folks that support us and are on our board.
Well, one thing that really impressed me too is that you have a very your website is a very informative.
And that's being updated, John. So we're going to be taking that and redoing our to make it mobile friendly.
Okay.
As well as to really get our message out to folks, let them know what's going on within the Council of Governments, as well as with our communities.
Right. And so far as the transportation piece of that goes, not to be used while they're driving, just when they're stationary.
Absolutely, yes. Don't text and drive, folks.
Well, Andre, how about giving our audience an idea of what you're involved with? What are some of the things that you would like to talk about? I know you've got the workforce initiative and things like that you're involved with. So,
yeah, what I would like the audience to probably take away from the conversation we're having today is that we are workforce all the time. We want to make sure that, and typically what workforce means it means different things to different people. Ultimately, in the past, and this is something that I've been at the COG for 2+ years now, and one of the things I tried to kind of change in coming into the COG was, you know, workforce isn't just merely those individuals who are seeking job placements, but it's also the employers too.
Right.
That was the fourth client that was always kind of left out of the conversation. And that's something that we have actively, and we've made some headroads into, and I'm proud of what we've done, but that's something we've actively tried to pursue as well. Because if we're funded through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grant out of the Department of Labor. And in that grant, they have youth, adult, and dislocated workers, and those are the individuals that make up the vast majority of folks who are looking for work or seeking to improve their job skills. But in that same grant or in the act, there is employer as well, but that gets kind of left out of that general conversation. and we've put it back into the conversation in a strong way. Through our IWT grants, the income and worker training grants that we provide to the community, and that's to the employers specifically. We're upskilling and tooling up the workforce of that employer. We also have on-the-job training contracts for placements of individuals, high-quality individuals, onto employer sites. And what I'd like the employer community to realize is the size of the business is not something that we actually take into account. Any business is eligible to receive these grants and fundings, IWT grants, anything.
Right.
We try to make sure that we advertise far and wide, usually through the Aiken Standard and other papers throughout the region, to let them know, okay, this is money that is yours. If you want it, if you feel like you can utilize this money, it is yours to apply for, and we want you to. Small business, medium, and large business. The large businesses, we don't really have any problem with them understanding what's out there as far as resources and taking advantage of those resources. The smaller businesses, we do. And one of the mandates I've given to my business service staff is make sure that you are reaching out to those mom and pops, to the smaller businesses, to the businesses with just 10 employees, not just the businesses with 1,200 employees.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we get a good mix and provide these resources, technical assistance, financial assistance to all these businesses. So, but from a workforce standpoint, I always kind of say that we are the yes people. You tell us what you want, we tell you yes, and then we figure out how.
Right.
Sometimes it's not as easy as yes, here you go. Sometimes you have to kind of sit and think, okay, well, how will we do this without necessarily running afoul of some federal legislation or regulation? But we will do it. We will figure it out and make sure that you get what you need as a job seeker or as an employer.
And thank you for saying that, because that goes right back to what I said initially, is that both of you are very passionate about what you're doing. And that statement that you made talks about your passion as well as the passion that Bill and your entire organization have for the community. And this is just a segment of it. But it's an important segment of it, because if we don't have a sustainable workforce, then we start losing employers, and we start having all kinds of economic issues in our community because we don't have goods and services for people that we do today. So supporting the employers with help, with employees, and I like what you said earlier, is the fact that, and it's so true in talking with small businesses, that so many of them are so worried about making payroll and doing the things that they have to do on a day in and day out basis. They don't have time to worry about the things that you could help them with.
Right.
You could take one more thing off of their plate, but
Absolutely.
they don't. Many of them don't know that your help exists. So this will be an opportunity to get this word out to more and more people.
Most of our services are actually offered through the SC Work Center, and it's one in each county of our 6-county region. And the one on Aiken is right there on Richland Avenue East. 1571 actually is the address. But in saying that, again, we have one in each county. So job seekers, employers can use that building, but we do have a unique component called the business service representative. We have a business service representative team, and their job almost exclusively is to reach out to the employer community and be their liaison. They don't really deal with the public as much as, say, the folks that are actually in the SC Work Centers.
Right.
They deal with the employers, and they're out about going from job site to kind of talk about what we can offer, what we can provide, and it's extensive. And a lot of employers are surprised at the level of sort of involvement that we have, or we can have, with them in the hiring process, in the training process. These things speak directly to their bottom line, and I would certainly encourage any employer who feels like there are some things that they want to see from the workforce system to let us know what that is. We are involved in sector strategy conversations across the state. We're involved in all kind of economic development activities that are going on throughout the state and the region itself. So we are, as I said earlier, we're the yes people, but we really want to know, how can we be better? What can we do to make your job or your organization run smoother? What services are you lacking that we may be able to provide? We want to know that. It's not a complaint. It's not, and if we're not doing well, we want to know that as well. I mean, I do not want politeness to take the place of efficiency. So if there's some issues that need to be addressed, the things that we need to do to sort of be better at what we do, we absolutely want to know that. So, I would encourage them to kind of speak on that.
One thing that you and I have talked about in a previous meeting was the program that you had with the high schools.
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? I thought that was very intriguing.
Very good program.
Well, I think it's a credit to kind of the outreach we've been doing the last couple of years, but the Aiken County Public School System reached out to us and they wanted to train their rising seniors over the summer on a work experience, and we were first flattered that they would reach out to us, and certainly, again, one of those situations where we didn't know the answer, but we answered yes, and we made it happen, and that's what we will always do. But what happened was the students would be placed on a work experience for 6 weeks. The actual school system decided which jobs and the skill sets needed for each individual person. We provided the funding for their hourly wage over the summer, and so now those students, and they've been featured in a couple of publications here in Aiken, have kind of turn their attention toward maybe a career in those fields that they were kind of introduced to over the summer. We'd like to do that in all of our region, but I think that's where it really starts for us. What I tell my staff a lot of the times is we get individuals into the SC Work Centers, and they lack whatever that might be. The credential, an understanding of how the workforce works, we have workshops and that sort of thing. But if we can catch these young people early and kind of talk about, okay, when you come to work, this is how you should be dressed. When you come to work, this is how you should act. And that takes a firm hold in their spirit, then it's easier when they get out of high school to kind of and go to a plant or an organization or a job site and find actual meaningful work at a wage that is commensurate with their abilities. So getting them early, talking about these workforce skills, the behavioral skills, and making sure they're at the highest that they could be is only good. I mean, it's perfect. That's how it should work. I mean, really, I like to start when they're in 5th grade, but I can't go back that far. So anyway.
Well, education is power.
It is.
And when you equip them at that age, it becomes more natural. The earlier, like you said, the earlier you can start, that maturation kicks in, and it becomes a way of life for them and not just an exception. And so when they go out to the workforce, they're a desired commodity. Right. I don't want to use the word commodity, but they're a desired resource.
Right.
Absolutely.
And when you told me about that program, I thought that was true. Do you have any, with all the different programs, is there any one little thing that you could share with us that was outstanding, that really touched your heart, that you could think about? I know that's kind of a tough question.
I think I can handle that. Basically, we're in the business of improving lives.
Right.
That's what I tell the staff. That's what I believe. Lives of the employer, lives of the actual people seeking employment. And we have a workforce development board that meets on a biannual, every other month basis. And we usually have success stories come in, and individuals that we've put into the program, they come in and they talk about what they've done. And we took a gentleman who was basically making about $7.25 an hour, and he came into the program, and when he left, he was making $22.50 an hour. We have changed his life. And he doesn't even know my name, and I appreciate that. He doesn't have to know my name. No. The fact that coming into our SC Work Centers, coming into our workforce system, he went from making minimum wage to a wage where he now can invest more directly into his family, into himself. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of every instance like that. And I think that that is why we do this. I think that's why we work hard to kind of make sure folks, we not just kind of give them a job, because we can find a job for $7.25 an hour out here somewhere for everybody. But giving individuals life-sustaining, family-sustaining income, where they can, instead of working 2 jobs, now they can be at home with their children at night, going over their homework with them, instead of having to run back from this menial job to this menial job, that kind of thing. We definitely want to be a vessel for change in the lives of people and improving their overall economic health. And that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Well,
just what you tell me, being somebody looking at it from the outside in, it tells me that you give an awful lot more than just a job or a helping hand.
You sure do.
You give people hope, you give people confidence, and you make people more viable in this community we call Aiken and Aiken County.
We sure do, John. We're a service organization that really provides a multitude of services that really hits the core of getting people either the stuff that they need coming in, whether it be with their homes, whether it be with meals, or having that ability to go out and find a new job, to have that opportunity to expand on what they do. And as Andre said very eloquently, to be able to support their family in a way that they weren't able to do previously.
Wow.
And we have a passion for that.
Well, as we wind down, gentlemen, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Bill, that we haven't talked about?
www.lscog.org. Look us up. Let us know if we can help you. Thank you.
We appreciate it. I'll tell you what, I hope that our audience has felt like I do, that I know an awful lot more than I did before we started today. But from me, and I'll just express this from the city and the community, that it's nice to know, it's gratifying to know that there are people that have the passion that you two do, and I'm sure you're just a reflection of the rest of the folks that are on staff there, that you have a passion for the community, and it is truly, you're putting service into operation, your service above the self. And we know what that means, don't we,
We
Bill?
sure do. Absolutely, John.
So let me thank you again, Andre. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing for our community and the way that you're both reaching out. And thank you, and don't lose the passion that you guys have, and I know you won't. Thank you for joining us today on Aiken Business Matters, and we look forward to seeing you next time.